It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's a Monday morning and it's so good to have your company. Thanks for joining us as we start the new week. And it is time right now that we delve into our conversation all about relationships. Dr. Eve is here. Now, we all know that the ideal model for a family is encouraging of having a mother, a father and children all present at one time. But it is unfortunately not always the case. In fact, statistically in South Africa, it's usually an absent father figure who upsets that status quo. And so with 4 days to go until the nationwide premiere of the film 3 Days to Go, which deals with the loss of a family patriarch, we're looking at the state of father figures in the country and what it means for our children and the generations we're trying to develop and grow.
That's right. So our questions this morning are, what role does a father play in the family, and how can we as a nation, as South Africans, make sure we raise fathers to step up to that platform? We have Dr. Eve in studio here to answer questions and, of course, provide some insight as well as giving us some statistics. Our lines will be open. That number is 021 430 9881. We would love to hear from you if you have a comment or a question. But Dr. Eve, welcome.
Hello.
I feel like we coordinated our outfits today.
I know.
Same WhatsApp group. All right.
It's a great idea.
So, Dr. Eve, we'll refer to the poll maybe at first. Let's take a look at what it is that you asked, where you say 63% of children in South Africa grow up with absent fathers. What kind of dad did you have? What are the results that you got from your poll?
You can move it, yes.
So I just want to clarify what we mean by absent dads. This is a father who doesn't live in the household. By being a father, you have to be there 4 days a week for 4 consecutive weeks. So start working that out for yourselves. So are you a father who was never ever there, meaning you were just never present at all? And very shockingly, 62% of babies are registered without a father's name in this country.
On their birth certificate?
Just hold that, on their birth certificate. Then somebody who was there but didn't live with me, in other words, they may have been divorced or just never have been married, but they were there. They kind of were present with you over weekends or holidays or whatever. So that we're showing 11%.
Okay.
Lived with me but was absent. So actually was in a household with me, married, present, but emotionally absent, physically absent, even though they were married and in the household. We've got 14%. And dads who were fully present, 53% of people say they had dads who were fully present, which is astounding to me, I have to say. I don't know what kind of Twitter group we've got going over here.
Well, but clearly the ideal kind and the kind that we're trying to have, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising because the statistics that we have right now are based on a survey that was done, very important one, in 2017. And that's where we're getting all these numbers from. 63% of children grow up without a father, which means that he was there, but he wasn't there at all. I mean, that's a huge amount of kids who are grown up without a father today. 8% of those have fathers who died, and then 53% of them just don't ever have a father around. So, Kat, when you're saying, the nuclear family, the ideal, it doesn't exist. We know that in our country specifically, the most common family structure is a single mom raising children on their own, with dads coming in and out. And is that kind of tragic, or should we just be accepting that is what the new family is like? Then we have to go and look at what is the impact of not having a dad, and it's quite dastardly. It's actually not a pretty sight.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that deeper part of the conversation very shortly. Our lines are open, 021 430 9881. Give us a call. What is the situation in your family and how you see it affecting our community and the society that we are trying to build? That's our relationship topic for this Monday morning with Dr. Eve.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Monday morning at the start of a brand new week. So good to have you with us on your Feel Good Breakfast show. And we're touching on a very, very relevant topic today with our relationship expert, Dr. Eve. Absent fathers. And we've asked the question about what kind of family unit did you grow up in? An absent father? Was your father present in your life throughout? Very interesting statistics on the poll. But we also have a caller, 021 430 9881.
That's right. Our lines are open. Amelia from Durban is currently on the line. Good morning, Amelia.
Good morning.
Hi. What is your comment or question for Dr. Eve this morning?
Okay, my question is, my father hasn't been around for a while. So I want to know that now that he's back, should I give him a chance or just treat him the way that he has treated me?
Okay. Amelia, how old are you?
I'm 17.
17, Dr. Eve.
Thanks for the question and for the call
Yeah,
there,
Amelia, what was the reason that your dad wasn't around? What was the reason that you were given?
He found someone else.
Yeah? And did he...
So
Go ahead, sweetie.
he found someone else, so he just shut off me and my sisters.
And is that something that you heard from your mom, or was that something you heard from your dad, that he shut you out?
That's how I feel. That's how he has been making me feel.
Okay, so you've tried to reach to him and he didn't respond, and now he's coming back and saying, hey, hi, honey, I'm home.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your feeling around it?
I'm not really happy about it.
You're angry that he kind of abandoned you for all those years?
Yes.
So what is it that calls you? What is it that you feel you would like to do now that he's stepped back in again?
I'm not too sure. That's what I wanted to find
Okay.
out from you. If maybe you have some advice.
Thanks so much, Amelia. Really amazing of you to be able to share that perspective with us. Dr. Eve, so what is the right thing to do, quote unquote, if there is such a thing?
I would, in my fantasy, I would love Amelia to be able to sit with her dad.
Yeah.
And to be able to say to him, I'm hurt, I'm angry, and I want to know your story. Because there's a story there, Kat. There's another story of why he has stayed away. She doesn't really know what that story is. And I think that she would need to have opportunity to process the pain. And he needs. And if you're Amelia's dad and you're watching us now, this is what you need to do. Because it's not just Amelia's responsibility. You need to be sitting in front of her and acknowledging her pain. Don't be defensive. Don't make justifications of why he disappeared from her life. Acknowledge her pain. Sit with your child and listen to her and do everything you need to do to repair whatever hurt has been caused. Yeah.
And it is a lot of hurt, and I think in front of that, most times that hurt is fronted by a lot of anger, because it's easy to just
Exactly.
and to brush it all off. And when I
Right.
think about my own personal story, where at the age of like 30, 31, when I was ready to have my dad answer all those questions that I had been asking about him and myself in my own mind and trying to make up the answers, when I got to that age and I was like, I'm ready, he died.
Oh, goodness.
So, I think it's so important that no matter that anger that you hold, at least give the chance to ask the questions and even if after that conversation, you still feel like, okay, thank you for the explanation and I understand, carry on with your life, I'll carry on with mine. That's your own decision, but at least to have that conversation and for me to perhaps find out what was the real reason.
I agree
talk
with
to
you.
me on
I
a
agree.
person-to-person level.
Yeah.
We're going to keep our lines open, 0214309881. We'll be back again with Dr. Eve.
Only you can make my day.
Well, we are back with Dr. Eve. We are talking relationships this morning and especially focusing on the father figures in South Africa and in particular the missing father figures from the households. Now, earlier we had a phone call from Amelia who had her dad absent but now wants to reconnect. And I'm asking Dr. Eve here, for those who want to reconnect to the person that was missing from their life, how can the person that was always in their life, and in most cases would be the mom figure, how can...
Or the gran.
Or the gran. How can those who have been present support that individual to make them feel like it's okay to reach out?
So, I'm going to take it back a few steps, and I am hoping that all the moms who are listening to us and might be feeling angry, unfair, that they have been abandoned or that there wasn't a dad, that they haven't created negative stories around this dad or projected their anger or their resentment onto the child and kind of sullied that child in their relationship with their father. So that when there is an opportunity, like with Amelia, to have a meeting with that dad, that they can support them going and meeting with this father and finding out for themselves what that story is, creating their own relationship with that father without it having been sullied or dirtied in a way by the story of the mother who's had a relationship or a negative relationship with that father.
Sure.
I would really hope that, because we want to build a society in which we support fathers rather than judge them and push them further away. We want to support them if you're not in a nuclear family, if you're not a regular live-in dad.
Okay.
Let's take a call, shall we? Cheryl
Yes.
is on the line from Cape Town. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning,
Thanks so much for the call. What is your question or comment?
Dr. Eve. Good morning.
Hi,
I just
Cheryl.
want to say I'm 58 years old now and wasn't allowed to make connection with my dad. So he said, am I not too old now? But you see, at the back of my mind, it's still worrying me. Can I still, is it a good thing that I must connect now, or shall I leave it to rest?
Thank you very much for that, Cheryl.
Sure, I mean, how do you ever leave something like that just to rest? This is such an important part of your life. And even if you're 58, you want to close the circle. You know, that's what Kat was referring to earlier. You want to close that circle for yourself. I'm sorry that you've had that negativity of not being allowed to connect with him. You really are a grown-up woman now, and you must make your own decision. What will be best for you? And Zoe was raising an important point just now when we were off screen about being loyal to your mother. Maybe you feel that you need to be loyal to your mother and therefore not connect with your dad. I mean, do you feel like that in any way?
I do feel like that because she didn't want me to talk about it ever.
Yeah, so that was her story, Cheryl. It's not your story. You inherited that story from her. So it's time to be loyal to yourself. And it's separate from your loyalty to your mom. You'll always have that. And I'm sure you'll always have gratitude to her for single parenting because, oh my goodness, I have so much regard. I'm a single parent, so I understand how important it is that one shows respect for that single parent and usually a mom. So you're not betraying her. You want to be truthful to yourself. So I would say, go forward, but also be prepared for, rejection, surprise. You want somebody there to hold and support you when you go through this endeavour.
All right. Well, we're going to have one more segment to
Okay.
chat with Dr. Eve. 0214309881.
Thanks, Dr. Eve.
Thank you very much for that
Cheryl.
call, Cheryl. And when we come back, I want to talk to Dr. Eve about the impact of absent fathers on our communities, and starting at very, very basic to the child or the children that are left without a father. And perhaps if there's dads out there that are questioning their existence and their relation to their children and the families that have been separated, this might be a very important point for you to reflect on. So stay tuned for that.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Hey, welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast show. So good to have your company at the start of a brand new week, talking about a very relevant topic, absent fathers in our society, with Dr. Eve, our relationship expert. 0214309880 is our line that you can call. I wanted to talk to Dr. Eve about the impact of a father not being there in a family or in a child's life. Talk to me about that.
There is diverse research results, which is just so very interesting because there's contradiction. Before I get to the research results, I do want to state very clearly what the impact is. So what research shows is living without a dad, growing up without a dad on girls, leads them to fall pregnant quicker, get married earlier, get divorced, have earlier first sexual debut, and to really suffer in that way, sexually unhealthy lifestyle, attached with difficulty, form relationships with difficulty. With boys, they become what's called hyper-masculine. They really pump it up. The gang's going to need a sense of belonging. So where am I going to go? I really need to feel masculine because I don't have this father figure at home. I'm going to go where I can feel I belong and feel masculine, which is a gang. And there's high levels of depression as well in young boys who grow up without fathers around. Let's not forget that 72% of kids in our society in South Africa, which, by the way, has the highest rate of absent fathers in sub-Saharan Africa, they grow up in extended families with grandparents and grandmothers. And this seems to be a buffer against some of the ills that children can face. So what the research shows is that kids who grow up with single parents, where there is a lot of support and love and care, they are in no way impacted negatively by not having a dad around. Then there's research that shows that kids, specifically boys, if they do not have the supportive fathers, they have less status, they have less what's called institutional support, less networking opportunities, and they suffer more. So dads, be present, be present with your children. Come back into their lives. Do the work that needs to be done to be able to repair and bring them a presence, because that gap, that hole is never going to be filled by anybody else. We're really grateful to extended families for being there, grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, but there's nothing that can take the place of that father.
So to any dad watching now, knowing
Yeah.
that he has potentially stepped away or been kept away from his
Being kept away. We want to
children,
focus on that
yes.
as well. Yeah.
What's the first step they can do? What's the first step they can take if like their heart's beating fast right now, knowing
Yeah.
that they should be doing something?
Yeah, take responsibility and accept that really this is difficult for you. And I'm repeating, you have to sit through that difficulty and reach out to your child, irrespective of, be present in some way or another. Absorb the anger of that child, the disappointment of that child. But that's what fathers are there for. You want to do that. And I want to simultaneously, Zoe, reach out to the mothers who are keeping those fathers away. Please don't do that. Set your own anger, resentments aside. This is really bad for your child if you are going to, like we heard from the caller, if it was Amelia, no, it was Cheryl. Don't do that to your child. Don't prevent the child from seeing, even if you're angry and disappointed, even if they're not paying maintenance. Just accept that. And we come back to what the law says. The law says that fathers have a right to their children. So they must meet that right. There are certain conditions you have to meet. One of them is that you have to contribute financially. That's what you have to do. Before you create a new family and raise new kids or getting some pets to feed, please will you support your children?
Whew, man, what a topic, and so
Yeah.
relevant in this day and age. And there's not enough to be said about the importance and reassurance of a protecting and guiding hand in someone's life. So if you'd like to continue to explore fatherhood and families with us, then be sure to tune in this Friday as the cast of the soon-to-be-released film 3 Days to Go joins Expresso.